What's up, everyone? Welcome to Developing with RaeveN Gaming. Today, we're doing something a little more tech-focused. I'm going to show you how to install WSL and DDEV on Windows 11, so you can run a clean, local development environment without manually fighting Docker containers, web servers, databases, and random config files. If you build WordPress sites, PHP projects, Drupal, Laravel, or even just want a cleaner local dev workflow, DDEV is one of those tools that can save you a lot of setup headaches. By the end of this video, we'll have WSL installed, Ubuntu set up, DDEV installed, and a test project running in the browser. What is WSL? Before we install anything, quick explanation. WSL stands for Windows Subsystem for Linux. It lets you run a Linux environment directly inside Windows without needing a full virtual machine. So instead of installing a separate Linux computer or dual booting your system, you can open a terminal and use Linux tools right from Windows 11. For developers, this is huge because a lot of web development tools are designed around Linux-style environments. What is DDEV? DDEV is a local development tool that uses Docker under the hood, but it hides a lot of the complicated Docker setup. Instead of manually writing Docker Compose files, configuring containers, setting up PHP, ngInts, databases, ports, HTTPS certificates, and project URLs, DDEV gives you simple commands like DDEV config, DDEV start, DDEV launch. That's the appeal. You still get the power of containers, but without needing to become a Docker expert just to start building a website. Here's why DDEV is useful. First, it makes project setup much easier. You can spin up a local environment in minutes. Second, it keeps projects isolated. One project can use one PHP version, another project can use another, and they will not mess with each other. Third, it is consistent. If your team uses DDEV, everyone can share the same project configuration instead of everyone manually setting up their own stack. Fourth, it works really well for PHP-based projects like WordPress, Drupal, Typo3, Laravel, and other web apps. And fifth, it uses Docker, but you do not have to manually manage every container yourself. But it is not perfect. You still need Docker or a Docker provider in the background. On Windows, that usually means using WSL 2 properly or using Docker Desktop or another supported provider. It can also feel confusing at first if you are new to Linux terminals. And if your files are in the wrong place, for example, directly on the Windows C drive instead of inside the Linux file system, performance can be slower. So the best practice is keep your projects inside WSL, usually somewhere like your WSL home folder/sites. Not in the Windows-mounted drive. Now, what makes DDEV different from just using Docker normally? With a manual Docker setup, you usually create your own docker-compose.yml file. You define your web server, database, PHP version, ports, volumes, environment variables, and networking. That gives you a lot of control, but it also means more setup, more troubleshooting, and more ways to break something. DDEV still uses Docker, but it gives you a developer-friendly layer on top. So instead of manually building everything, you run a few DDEV commands, choose your project type, and DDEV handles the container setup for you. Think of it this way. Manual Docker is like building your own gaming PC from every individual part. DDEV is like getting a pre-configured gaming PC where you can still upgrade and customize things, but you do not have to wire every cable from scratch. Let's start the install. First, open the Start menu and search for PowerShell. Right-click it and choose Run as Administrator. On screen, I'm going to run this command, WSL install no distribution. This installs the WSL features without immediately installing a Linux distro. After that, run WSL update. If Windows asks you to reboot, go ahead and restart your PC. Then come back to PowerShell. Now, we'll install Ubuntu 24.04 and name the distro DDEV. In PowerShell, run WSL install Ubuntu 24.04, name DDEV. You'll be asked to create a Linux username and password. Important note: when you type the password, it may look like nothing is happening. That's normal. Linux terminals often do not show password characters while typing. Once that's done, verify the distro by running WSL-L-V. You should see something like name, state, version, DDEV stopped, R. The important part is that the version should be 2 because DDEV works best with WSL 2 on Windows. Now, we'll install DDEV. The easiest method is using winget from PowerShell. Run winget install interactive DDEV. During the installer, choose the recommended option, Docker CE inside WSL 2. Then, when it asks for the WSL distro name, enter DDEV. This option lets the DDEV installer set up Docker CE inside your WSL 2 environment automatically. If you want the silent install version instead, the command is winget install DDEV silent override. Docker CE distro equals DDEV. For most viewers, I'd recommend using the interactive installer because it's easier to see what's happening. Now open your DDEV Linux environment. In PowerShell, run WSL-DDEV. Now you should be inside Ubuntu. Let's verify everything. Run Docker version, then Docker buildx version, then DDEV version. If all 3 commands return version information, you're in good shape. Now let's create a simple test project. Inside the WSL terminal, run mkdir-p-sites DDEV demo, cd-sites DDEV demo. Now create a basic PHP project. You may create the folder and PHP file, or you made the commands. Now configure DDEV --project-type equals PHP --doc-root equals web. Start the project DDEV start and launch it in your browser, DDEV launch. If everything worked, your browser should open a local DDEV site showing the PHP info page. That means WSL, Docker, and DDEV are all working together. Here are a few commands you'll use a lot. To start a project, DDEV start. To stop a project, DDEV stop. To see project details, DDEV describe. To open the site, DDEV launch. To SSH into the web container, DDEV SSH. To delete a project's containers but keep the code, DDEV delete. And to completely remove project data, including the database, be careful with DDEV delete O. Do not run that unless you actually want to remove the project's stored data. If you see an error like cannot connect to the Docker daemon, that usually means Docker is not running inside WSL. Try sudo systemcl enable now docker. If that does not work, run sudo service docker start. Then try dev start again. If your project feels slow, check where your files are located. Inside WSL is good. Tilde cites my project. Windows-mounted folders can be slower. For the best experience, keep your DDEV projects inside the Linux file system. When should you use DDEV? Use DDEV if you want a fast, repeatable local dev environment and you do not want to manually maintain Docker Compose files for every project. It is especially useful for WordPress, Drupal, Typo3, Laravel, and PHP-based web work. But if you are building something very custom, or you need full low-level control over every container, a manual Docker setup might still be better. So my simple recommendation is this. If you want control and do not mind setup work, use Docker manually. If you want to get projects running quickly and consistently, use DDEV. And that's it. We installed WSL on Windows 11, created an Ubuntu distro for DDEV, installed DDEV with Docker inside WSL 2, and launched a test PHP project in the browser. This setup is a solid starting point if you want to do local web development on Windows without turning your machine into a mess of different servers, databases, and tools. Now, if you want my recommended next step after this video, I'd say use this setup to install Laravel 13 with DDEV. If this helped, hit like, subscribe to RaeveN Gaming, and let me know what you want to see next. Laravel 13 with DDEV. WordPress with DDEV, or a full comparison between DDEV, Laravel Sail, Herd, XAMPP, and manual Docker. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.